Hello, everybody. Good evening. I hope you all are safe and everybody around you is safe. Thank you for joining us today. Uh, can everybody hear me? Am I audible? Yes? All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for your reward. Thank you, everybody. So I am Surabhi Mehta, the International Client Servicing Manager from SmartMove Immigration. And I welcome all of you all for the discussion today on UK family migration visas. I would like to introduce our speaker today, Mrs. Falguni Y Parekh. She is the Principal Partner at SmartMove Immigration. Being a UK qualified solicitor, she has been quoted in national newspapers in the UK as well as India. She has also been quoted and introduced by BBC World News. All right. So before we get started, I would like to introduce all of you all to SmartMove Immigration and what are the services that we provide. We are a professional immigration law firm and we have been established since 2009, successfully helping in global migration in countries like UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and many other countries. We help HNIs, corporates, investors. We assist in family migration routes, which we are going to speak about today. This includes spouse visas, fiance visas, unmarried partners, and many more. We have been quoted as the, okay, I'm sorry, there's a bit of technical glitch. If we could just have the PPT, the next slide, please. Hi, Sophie. So I think you need to turn on the audio from your device. I hope. Yes, Sophie. Can you hear me now? All right, so I'm just going to continue. So yes, like I said, we are a professional immigration law firm. We have been operating since 2009, successfully helping HNIs, corporates, and investors in global mobility solutions to the UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and many other countries. We also assist in family migration routes, which includes spouse visas. This is what we're going to speak about today. Spouse visas, fiance visas, unmarried partners, and many more. We have been recognized by Who's Who Legal for corporate and investor migrations. We have almost a perfect score if you look at our Facebook and Google ratings. We do have a presence in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. All right, so we do help our clients in each and every step of the application. It's just not limited to the visa. So if we help you with spouse visas, next step is, if you're looking at maybe setting up a company, or if you're looking at higher education, or any sort of education for your children, we also help with those services. So it's a complete in-country support that we offer and a complete hand-holding. All right, perfect. So let's continue with the discussion today. Over to you, Mrs. Falguni.
Can she start? Can she start? Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening to all the attendees. Thank you very much for joining this webinar today on UK family settlement category of visas. This is Falguni Y Parekh here. I am a solicitor and partner at SmartMove Immigration, and we specialize in UK immigration and nationality laws. Along with that, we advise for all the other countries of immigration as well. But today's webinar is very specific. We're going to speak only about about the settlement category for UK visas is a category which has a longer processing time, because the very fact that it's for settlement, it's not like a visit and you're going to come back. It has a longer processing time. So up to 3 months is what the processing time is. However, people who are worried about the processing times, you can cut that short. There's also priority the priority processing available under this category, which puts you in a different queue. It gives you an approach. It gives you a faster kind of a response. This category is a little expensive than the other category of visas. Typically, you see the visa fees about 100,000 rupees, and then there's an immigration health surcharge, which is converted into INR approximately about 114,000 rupees, and then you have a priority processing fees, which is optional. So you may choose to either opt for it, or if you don't opt for it, it doesn't apply to you. So you don't have to worry, it's not a mandatory, but the first two are mandatory ones, the government fee and the immigration health surcharge fee. And should things unfortunately don't go in your favor, then there's an appeal process which is a bit time consuming. It takes up to 9 months to 12 months. There's no shortcuts here. There's absolutely no priority when it goes through the appeal route, and unfortunately one just has to wait for that long to kind of get a decision on their applications. Well, with all that, let's run into what is exactly the settlement categories or the family route of entering the UK and settling there. So these are the routes. You can enter in as a fiancé. You could be including the fiancé and the proposed civil partner. It's a short-term visa that is granted, and it's a non-settlement category applications when you do a fiancé visas. So ideally, is somebody, it's when both the parties have agreed in principle to kind of get engaged, or they've got engaged with plans to get married within UK. Then this applies to you as a fiancé. You need to first apply for a fiancé visa. You get a short-term leave to enter, and then you can convert that into a settlement category once you're within the UK. You don't have to really come back to your home country to do that. We'll run through these bits in the further slides that we go in. The next one is spouse. Obviously, you have got married. Sorry, there's somebody raised a concern here. We'll take the questions at the end of this session, if that helps. Is that okay? We can have a Q&A session at the end. Unless I'm not audible, then you can please let our Miss Surbi know about it, and she will try to work that bit out for you. Okay, so we have spouse visas, and in that spouse visas, you can have civil partners or unmarried partners who can join in. And you can apply. The spouse visa, unlike the fiancé visa, is a long-term, and it's a settlement category of an application. So you're just doing one application, and then that's about it, and you can join your spouse in the UK. Children can also enter if they're under 18, including adopted and surrogated children. They could also be a part of the application. Again, these applications are long-term, and they lead you to settlement in there. There's also an adult dependent relative applications, which has been, which is in existence, and under this, the parent of the British national who is solely dependent on them and can apply, and it's a long-term settlement category. So this is just a fair overview. There is lots of other requirements that you have to meet in to qualify under the adult dependent visas, and but eventually it leads you to a settlement route by making an application. Brilliant. So Let us first enter in and see the spouse visa, a very interesting statistics which is there. This is published by the Home Office, and the statistic here says, well, there's a large number of applications from Pakistan. I'm particularly focusing from India, and in India there were about 4,278 applications which were being submitted and in 2019, and about 20% of an application got refused, which means 1 in 5 applications were being refused under this category there. Why were they being refused? It could be n number of reasons, but mostly that we come across whilst we speak to our client after if they've got a refusal and have contacted us. It could be because there's an inaccurate eligibility assessment. You haven't really assessed yourself correctly under the criteria, because the criteria are quite very many, and they are quite comprehensive. There are quite a lot of them to be complied with. There could be a non-compliance with the immigration rules because they have a lot of fine prints. They have a lot of published notes that you have to refer to once you're doing that application under this category. Also, it could be an inaccurate or insufficient information given, which doesn't help them to make a decision when they're assessing your application. So this also has become, these are the most common ground that I see, the top reasons. Or there's an inadequate representation about the case. You really need to do a proper representation to the authorities to allow them to give a favorable decision, a decision in your favor. So with this information, what is it that they're looking out for? What are these requirements? What is this spouse visa? We wouldn't be able to go in detail because they're very, very, very complex, and there's quite a lot of categories and subcategories into it. But I will run through some universal requirements which are applicable to everybody. And then obviously you have to see your own particular case on how you qualify to apply under this category. So the first and foremost is the sponsor. The sponsor in this case has to be a British national or a person who is settled in the UK or has got an ILR. So an indefinite leave to remain in UK is good enough. So if your sponsor has got indefinite leave to remain in UK, has not applied for a British passport, and you've got married, you could apply for a spouse visa. The applicants have to give an English language proficiency test. They have to prove the English language proficiency. There are various routes to prove that there, which has been published again on the guidances on how do one prove the English proficiency, but it's a mandatory requirement. The applicant has to prove that they have a proficiency in English. The most important one, which has come into existence since 2012, which is the financial requirement, which is £18,600. So the sponsor in the UK has to be earning £18,600, or they have a savings, which is the applicant and the sponsor have a savings together in £62,500. Now, sometimes people do get worried. It's not 18,600. We don't have 62,500, but we have some earnings, some savings. And mind you, there's lots and lots been written on the guidance note. There's a lot of permutation combinations on how you meet this. You can combine bit of your earnings with bit of your savings, and together an application can be made. There could be other sources of income which can be combined together. So there's various scenarios which have been published where people could be getting dividends, where people could be getting rental incomes. They could be employed, there could be a part-time employments, there could be multiple employments, and there's quite an exhaustive list which they have kind of taken into account. All of this had to be factored in to meet the financial requirements. They're very, very particular that the financial requirement has to be mandatorily been met for any application to go through. In fact, all of this requirement that I'm just running through, you can't really miss any one of these there because they're all are quite needed to get your application through. You also have to prove the genuineness of relationship, and there's a long list again on how do you do that, how do you prove the genuineness of your relationship, which needs to be supported in your application. So given this background, that applies to the coming up categories that I'm going to discuss with you, and keeping that as in your background, going to discuss. So fiancé visa is something, as I said earlier in my discussion, is something where you've just got engaged, you've agreed in principle to get married to each other, and you want to get married in the UK. So you're very specific, you were clear that you would want to take your vows in the UK up over there. So you take in the fiancé route. Also for proposed civil partner, some countries still don't recognize civil partnership. However, UK has an enactment and they do recognize civil partnership. So you could take the fiancé route to enter the UK, and then you can register your civil partnership in the UK. So that's where you take a fiancé route. So you live in the UK with your fiancé or proposed civil partner, and you are, as I said, planning to get married in UK, then this is the route, this is the category for you. And what happens is, once you make an application as a fiancé, so you got your civil partnership registered, you can switch from your fiancé route to your spouse visa route. But whilst you're waiting for this to happen, you are not allowed to work. So there's no permission for you to take any kind of an employment or non-employment. You get 6 months, but you really have to just sit down and wait for first your marriage to happen, second the switching of your category under these visas. So the fiancé visa, what is the validity and extension is what we're going to discuss here. So the fiancé visa, as I said, is a very short-term visa, generally granted only for 6 months. So it's valid for 6 months, but you have a possibility of extension from within the UK if, for instance, you're not able to get married within that timelines, or once, of course, you get married, you can switch your status to a spouse. So coming to spouse or unmarried partner, also known as a spouse visa or unmarried partner, same-sex partner application, what you can do in there is you need to prove, first of all, is that there is a marriage that has happened, which is recognized by the UK. There's a civil partnership which has been recognized by the UK law, and that becomes your first and foremost and the most important thing. So in fiancé, you don't really need a marriage certificate, obviously, because it's only agreement in principle at that stage. It's only something that you have decided between the applicant and the sponsor. However, in spouse, you've gone to the next level. You've actually taken your vows, you've actually registered your marriages or your civil partnership, and you would have a document which is recognized under the law to confirm the same. If you are looking for an unmarried partner, then you need to have a relationship which is at least for 2 years. You need to be in a relationship akin to marriage, which is at least for 2 years for you to make an application under the unmarried partner route. You need to be living with your spouse or partner in the UK. You will be allowed under this category to live with your spouse and partner in the UK. Also, under this category, have no restriction. You can work, you can study, you can start your own business, you can look out for a job without restriction, you can do freelance work, you can do voluntary work, you can do, if you don't wish to do anything, that's fine as well. Or if you wish to do everything and you can manage everything, there's absolutely no restriction as a spouse or an unmarried partner once you've been granted the visas, and that allows you to enter. So a spouse visa is valid from the date that it is granted, and the validity as it stands today, you get for 2.5 years, and then you need to apply for an extension after the first 2.5 years is over. So before it gets over, you actually need to apply within UK for your extension. And should your extension go well, then you get another 2.5 years, and you live there in the UK for 5 years, you're entitled to get a British nationality. So the first step will be an indefinite leave to remain in UK is what you get. And then you can apply for your naturalization and then your British passport. So it takes 5 years for you to become, to get your indefinite leave to remain in UK and then further your British nationality. Now, I really started my career quite early in immigration. I qualified from BBB Law College in the UK and in London. And when I started, I remember back in time, it used to take just about a year. So once you've got married, you can enter the UK, and within a year of completion, you could apply for your ILR. Further in around 2006, it got revised to 2 years. So you enter the UK, and in 2 years, you get indefinite leave to remain in UK, and in the third year, you could apply for your passport. Now it's 2020, and for past many years since the rules been changed, it's now become 2.5 years of your initial visa grant and another 2.5 years post your extension, and then you can apply for an indefinite leave to remain in UK and a British passport. So it's become quite a long process to get through with your indefinite leave to remain in UK and the British passport now. So this is about the visa validity and extensions. What are the challenges? Most of the clients that we see, so we do clientels all over in India. We've got a very, very high success rate for UK spouse visas. You can go through our testimonial pages, and we've come across clients and the visa challenges that they face. Most of the time, as I said earlier in my slide as well, that it's an inaccurate assessment of the eligibility to apply in this category. As I said, that there has been a very, very long and very exhaustive list on different permutation and combinations that are possible. So we see most of the refusals happening under the self-employment category, where there's a calculation of income which has not been done correctly. The relevant periods are not being taken into account, and therefore not being adequately represented. Also, sometimes when you think that the sponsor is under a salaried employment and should be quite straightforward, but there could be again fine prints like bonuses or overtime or allowances that they're getting. And again, the published guidance note says it's quite exhaustive, and there's quite a lot of fine prints and quite a lot of in-depth written into the Home Office. You kind of keep digging in and up over there to find out on what are those parameters or what are those criterias under which the salaried employment could get accepted and should be presented to the Home Office. Also, another popular reason is the insufficient documents, and sometimes, as I said, because it's a very, very long list, and it's a settlement category where they expect you to provide quite a detailed kind of supporting paperwork to meet all those requirements. And because it's a long list, it's just human sometimes to miss out on a particular document, to just overlook that particular there, and that can just become a very good reason for the applications to get refused under this category. There again is a lot of fine prints which are being published, and those needs to be taken into account when you're filing the applications. So we've seen in past there were so many instances. So you have offline forms, you have online forms, and there were classically some online forms which were not at all being presented, and that became a very good reason for the applications to get refused. Also, like very simply, if there is a previous marriages, then you need to have a previous divorce decrees, or when those are missing, then that can become a very good reason for the applications to get refused. So these are the challenges. Also, sometimes when you are a vivid travelers, then you see that you have missed out on giving your travel history. If you are a frequent traveler and you've been visiting UK or a lot of countries around the world, then you may have missed out on mentioning this in your travel history. So there's specific questions asking you about your travel history, about your previous visits, about your refusals, not only in UK, but also otherwise outside UK, which needs to be shared with them there. And if not, then that becomes a good reason or a challenge to get you an approval. There's also inadequate representation sometimes of the facts, where we only kind of assume things that about relationships or about facts of the cases, and we tend to go wrong because they really need to be explained about the whole case there. So these are the ones that you generally see in a normal circumstances, in which everything was okay, everything is fine, and all is good. But the COVID time has been the more testing time into these categories. It's kind of stressed up a lot of applicants and sponsors, and not only applicants and sponsors, but also their family members. About, people have got married, they possibly also have kids, and then they're struggling maybe to enter the UK on a spouse visa, or for their extensions, or they already entered in and on a fiancé visa, and now they're stuck in the UK because everything just shut down, and so there are very unique challenges which the COVID-19 has now posed under this category, and we can quickly run through on what are these challenges that you see and how is COVID-19 impacting the spouse visa. So I think the most common, since this has happened, I've been receiving a lot of calls from my existing clients, also otherwise from clients all across within the UK and in India, asking us on how do we meet the financial requirement under these times, because the sponsor is unable to meet them, and the applicant's earnings are not considered unless the applicant had valid rights to work in the UK. That's an exception. There is a lot of furlough and layoffs happening for the sponsors, which has made it difficult to meet the £18,600 that we discussed in my very beginning of the slides, where we were running through the universal requirements for the spouse visas. Also, the inability to meet the English language requirements, because you have to give, in some instances, tests to pass the English language, which are not possible now because of COVID and shutdown, and the test centers have closed down, and as I said, that you have to meet few, and the few I don't know, it's okay if I don't meet. You have to kind of meet all these requirements, and therefore it was a challenge where they were not able to meet the English language requirement. There was also closure. There's, you're almost ready. There are clients, there's a set of my clients as well as the clients that I was speaking to during this COVID time, who were very, very stressed out and a lot of anxiety up over there, saying, we are ready, we've got all the paperwork in place, but it's just the BFS centers have closed down, or the home office centers are not open at this moment, and we can't really go ahead with the submission, and which was a very difficult times for them there. There was also concerns surrounding spouse visa migrants, especially visas getting expired. There was been visas granted, but they were not able to travel. So there's inability to travel due to the travel restriction from within India, and this became very, very difficult. So here you are at one instance where you are within UK, and now you're struggling to make an application because the centers is closed down, or you're not within UK, but the sponsor is quite stressed out because they can't meet the financial requirements. Also the possibility where you were almost ready with the application and everything's closed down, which was again a nightmare to see what do you do now. So you're kind of ready to go, and and especially this category of fiancé spouse visa. Once you're married, I think it's very natural that the applicant and sponsor would want to live together. Not only them, even the families of both the parties would expect that, you know, the applicant, the bride and the groom, who are newly married, have to be together as soon as is possible. And this have become a very, very testing moments for them, and very stressed out moments for them. The worst part was the fact where, you know, few people were being granted visas, and they were just planning to make those trips, wind up from the home country, and book their tickets to fly, had also booked tickets in a few instances, but could not board in. And then suddenly all the travel restrictions have come in place and they could not. So there was quite a lot of those instances as well that we came across during this period of shutdown, which is still in existence in India. How did the Home Office respond? So for a very long time, Home Office was quiet on how they're going to respond. They really didn't have any plans in mind. It's only very recently, in the past few weeks ago, that they really came about considering such kind of scenarios, and they came about to say that those currently in UK on a visit visas or other visas up to 6 months validity could now apply for a spouse visa upon meeting the requirements. So they were very categorical that yes, you can do that. Earlier, you were not allowed to do that, but in this exceptional circumstances and in this very exceptional time of the year that we were into, they kind of have relaxed the policy. They also were very considerate about the sponsors who were employed but have suffered economic consequences because of COVID, and they may rely on income for immediate 6 months before March 2020 to meet the requirements. So that's really very, very good kind of a consideration that came as a big relief to lots of cases that we came across, and we did a lot of consultations during this time. And it came as a relief to say that, look, we understand if there were layoffs or furloughs or pay cuts, then they will be a bit considerate in calculating the income requirements from the sponsor. If the sponsor was in, say, a self-employed scenario, if they are like the director or having their own businesses, etc., and who have suffered losses of annual income for the period of 1st March to 31st July 2020, this would be disregarded and not impact the future applications, which again was very considerate, because everything was on a stop still, and a lot of cases, especially the self-employed ones, would not have been able to do an application under this category. So those unable to provide specified documents, this is further something that they went on. So as I said, that there are lots and lots of requirements that's got published on the website, and they started being very specific as far as is possible to say that if you are not able to provide a specified document, like for instance, you would get a letter from accountant, or letter from employers, or letter from bank in support of the applications, or any specific documents, you can submit at a later date or may not be required to do so. So they gave you a lot of liberty to say, look, if your centers have opened up and you are ready with the applications, but missing on a document here or document there, or you're concerned about your earnings, you're concerned about your salaries, then this is what you can do, is you can go ahead and make your application, and the Home Office would come back to you, and they would let you know if you can give this at a later date, which is not generally the case. So generally, you need to give all the supporting documents at the inception of your applications. There's no room to provide documents at a later stage. They don't really come around and ask you for paperwork at a later stage. So this came as a big relief to the practitioners like us, and came as a relief to the applicants and the sponsors. And a few of them could go ahead where the centers have. So if the VFS centers have started operation in few parts of the globe, and we represent clients not only within India but also outside India, and we were able to go ahead with the application even if the client did not have few supporting documents. Obviously, you have to see the merits before you join, and we could submit the applications. Again, the applicants who had to meet the English proficiency and could not do so because the centers were closed down, they could not take on their test, etc., were being exempted, because obviously a lot of people said, look, we are ready, and however the center is not operational, and therefore we are not able to take our test, which is again something that you have to, as I said in my universal requirements for spouse visa, is you have to meet the English proficiency. And those migrants whose visa expired were unable to travel back to the UK due to COVID related to travel restriction may be excused for the delay in extension application. Now, this is something which also had happened, is to say that they could not enter, and there are timelines by which you have to be within the country and execute your rights under this category. But because of travel restrictions, there may be potential fall down because of you not being in the country for that long, but you're now excused under the new considerations that the Home Office has responded, which has come as a huge relief to all the applicants and the sponsors. The short periods of absence of temporary migrants from UK due to travel restriction may also be overlooked for calculation of continuous residence. So in a very, very long run, when they kind of count your physical stay within the UK, now if you were for any reason outside UK and were not able to enter the UK due to COVID-19, they're going to excuse that, is what they've already published. And whenever you reach that stage there, or if you're likely to reach your stage where the continuous stay in the UK will be taken into account, here is where you will be able to claim exemption. So this put a lot of anxiety from the applicant and sponsor to the rest, to say it comes as a relief to see this being published by the Home Office. Now, we've seen about the different categories. We've just touched base about, I would say we just touched base about the requirements, but as I said, this is settlement category. It's got a lot of complexity, and therefore it's more advisable to take some kind of a legal help. There's a lot of clients who would come and say that I've got a friend, I've got a relative, but a friend and a relative's case may be different than yours. Your circumstances may be different. Your sponsor's circumstances may be different, and therefore you should take a legal advice up over here. So you need a legal advice because this is complex and it's a dynamic UK immigration rules, and it requires a proper interpretations before you kind of submit your application under this category. And somebody who's doing it day in and day out will be able to tell you more confidently on how you need to do, how your specific case fits into this universal requirement, and how do you therefore represent your case up over there. And therefore you should seek help for somebody who is proficient, who is learned, who is experienced in this field to kind of advise. You have to ensure compliance with every eligibility requirement of UK immigration rules. As I kept saying in my presentation up until now, that you cannot really say, I will meet one requirement or only this or that, and it's okay if I don't meet. If I meet 4 of them and I don't meet the 5th one, it should be fine. No, you really will have to meet all these requirements to kind of go through with the application. There's a lot of attention to detail that's required, a thorough document verification before you kind of submit the application, because once you put in the information or the documents, you cannot kind of go back and kind of change those up over there because it gets recorded, and therefore you have to be very mindful of the details that you've shared and the documents that you've given in support of the application. You need to customize and have complete representation of your immigration applications. As I said, that there are universal laws which are applicable to public at large, but then your case may be a unique case. Your case may be a little bit something which requires it to get yourself fitted into the whole of the published guidance notes here, and therefore for that customization you will need some kind of a legal advice, or again, somebody who's very experienced can help you to make this happen. How can we as help you? So we at SmartMove2UK, as I said, myself, I'm a qualified solicitor from the UK, governed by the Law Society of England and Wales. We've got a large team of qualified lawyers and solicitors working under my guidances. They've got a lot of good trainings. They've got tons of experience. You can visit our testimonial site and you could see the amount of good work that's been done and the success story that we as a firm enjoy. What we do for you is, first of all, the accurate assessment of the eligibility under the immigration rules. We kind of ask you a lot of questions, we gather facts from you, and based on that, we give you an accurate assessment. There's so many times we come across clients who would have started the conversation to say, I think I've done my assessment and I think I do qualify. And once we start looking into or having a discussion at the first level, we realize that some points were not being taken into account, they were not being considered, and the client very well agreed to say, well, I just overlooked. But it's quite natural, as I said, because the complexity of the requirements under this category is just human sometimes. It's not to have looked into a particular kind of a requirement in details and kind of have overlooked it. It does get very exhausting at times to go through all those requirements. We advise on complete list of supporting documents required for an application. As once we start working on a file there, we kind of give you an insight into all of it. There are so many instances where sometimes you're not able to get a particular document. In that case, because of our experience and expertise, we may be able to suggest you an alternate document if it's possible, which can still help your applications to go through up over there. So that's where otherwise you kind of get stuck. I see this online and I haven't got in there and I can't therefore proceed. But because we've done quite a lot of them, if there is a possibility, I repeat, if there is again a possibility to advise on something which is an alternate and that can help, we will advise you on that one, which will in turn help you to go ahead with the application. We verify all the documents and ensure that you comply with the Home Office requirements. So once we receive an instructions, we go through all your paperwork in detail. We kind of do all the verifications. We find out if there are any gaps and what do you need to do to bridge those gaps up over there, and how do you therefore proceed with the applications that we undertake to do it. We complete the relevant term of his application forms and the right information up over there. So we ensure if there are any updated forms or if there are any other offline forms or whatever that's required, and a complete information has been given, which is as instructed by the clients. As far as the facts are concerned, and legally as far as the immigration rules are concerned, we reply appropriately to the questions on the application forms. So it meets the factual part of the application as well as the legal aspect in the application once some questions have been asked accordingly. We also take your relevant appointment for your submission of the applications. We complete the representation in the application. We kind of prepare you the entire pack. So we give you, this is your pack and this is what you need to actually submit it to the service center. We run through with you on what's been submitted. So there's no discrepancy on what you've said, what we are telling. Everything is transparent. Everything is as you've said, and that's exactly how we've represented it. We run through with you that this is exactly what we're speaking to them there. So we're all on the same page once we submit the application. We also do the follow-up. So it's not that we stop at the part where we're submitting the applications. There's all the follow-ups which is possible. You could go back to our YouTube channels and you would see where clients struggled to get, because of the complexity of their case. There were instances when we did not receive the responses within the published timelines. As a firm, we took that responsibility on to put in through videos and through follow-up letters to appeal to the authorities to say it's not fair to stick on to not deciding in applications. Rather, whether in favor or against the client, we need to have a decision. So all that is possible because we can represent you legally in your case, and we do all the follow-up possible to get through with your application that has been submitted. Pending your application, if there is any doubt or query, we respond to those queries because we are your legal representative in this matter. And it's as much as like, if you have any matter in the Indian courts as well, and you go with the lawyer answers for and on behalf of you. But yes, there are some circumstances under which the Home Office particularly would want to speak to, say, the concerned people under the applications. Then you will be having to go through with the interviews as a sponsor or as an applicant or any of the parties that they are entitled to question, and you will have to go through the interview process. But yeah, we support in this process as well. We give you a support on the interview as required. So how do we do this now in this time where we have 3 offices in India? We have in Mumbai, Delhi, Chandigarh, and in Bangalore. We do it digitally. So everything's gone online. We have virtual consultations. You can get to speak to us on Skype or Google Video or Zoom or WhatsApp or Google Meet, any platform that you're comfortable with. It's just that you can get to see us as well, and then we can have a conversation virtually about your case, take on your details and do it. We verify all the documents as well virtually. You can scan and upload it on a drive or send us to Google Suite, and we would be able to verify your paperwork, give you our comments, ask you if there is anything else that's required to be done, etc. We do a follow-up advice regarding documents. We would be also coordinating with you despite the time differences. We would have Google Calendar to sync our schedules, and we would coordinate with you. We are in fact working with clients even outside India at this moment. I have clients from East Africa, I've got clients from Germany, etc., who are going to apply under these categories, and we are still able to coordinate with them because of the time differences. We also share the complete application pack, the forms, the checklist. So we prepare your checklist as per your case, and then we give you, just to ensure that you're not missed out on any of the documents up over there. We list the documents for you. We give you a complete virtual support throughout the application process. We go through the testimonial website. We really take a pride into the work that we have done, and the client was very, very happy. They always are happy of the support that the firm provides to them during the entire process up over there. Imagine it's like your 12 weeks of your time, and we always with you, just a phone call away, and able to provide you all the support that you need in this process here. These are few of the testimonials. Well, there are quite a lot of videos and quite a lot of testimonials about various clients giving us their feedback about what they think, and how we've helped in their journey of these applications here. So give you a moment, you could read that out about our success stories, which have been actually stated by our clients after they have availed our services. So this is where we are. We're based in Mumbai, New Delhi, Bangalore, and this is our contact information. Should you wish to book your appointment for consultations, to speak to us, or you have a specific query or complexities and require hand-holding, you're looking for an extension, you're looking for indefinite leave to remain in UK or a British passport under the category of settlement route, you can feel free to contact ourselves on the email address given here and the contact numbers given here. I will be happy to assist you in your applications there. So with this, we come to the end of this presentation, and I hope this presentation has been of help. And I assume that there were a few questions. If Surbi could help me, is there any particular questions that we can assist?
Yes. So we have a question from Monica.
So I have Miss Monica asking a question here.
Yes.
Is to say, is there any option to apply online and process visas and submit documents and biometric when the centers will open up? Because my husband's contract job is going to get finished and he will be without job. So can we apply? Yes, you can. Yes, you can apply online. And submit your online application forms. Also, Monica, it might be of help to you. As I said, now they've been a bit considerate. You can go through the considerations that they have published, and you can possibly also required quote those in support of your applications. Yeah. So all the very best. I hope that's been of help. We have another one question says, can someone who goes to the UK on spouse visa bring his parents to the UK as his dependents? So Mohammed Hassan, yes, not as a spouse visa unless you have a complete rights within the UK. So unless you yourself have become a British national, because on a spouse visa, you yourself are on probation. The first 5 years that they only give you a visa and give you extensions, you are on kind of a probation. And once you get full rights, then there is a separate category which we had briefly touched, because it's one of the category under the family settlement route, but it's exhaustive in itself. We probably have another one session on elderly dependent category where parents can enter in and join the applicants in the UK. But that has another set of immigration requirements, which we will possibly have another webinar. I can make a note of your email address. If you send us your email address and your contact number, we'll give you a heads up when that happens, and you can possibly join us in there to know more about how parents can join you in the UK.
Yes, so we have another
right,
question.
thank you,
from
Monica,
Nishat.
for your question there. And there's a question to say, I'm wondering if COVID-19 situation, sorry, I didn't kind of get the entire question. So we did touch base upon the COVID-19 scenario to say it has kind of got affected, but I didn't really get the questions. Shovik, I hope I've got this right. Shovik Silsarama. I really need to know the question to help you to answer that. I'm very sorry, I'm not understood the question. The other question we have is to say, given that the UK Home Office is now operational, is it sending up decision on UK spouse visa for applications submitted and the priority biometrics submitted, courier service availed for the decision, passport submitted, given that the VFS is now closed in India? Yes, so the Home Office have started responding, but then it is still, how should I put this? So the Home Office would make a decision, and possibly you would receive an email to say whether you've been granted visas or not. But unless the VFS doesn't get operational in India, it would be very difficult for them to take that to the next level, is to upgrade their own records and stamp in your passport, and then for it to be opening up for you to come over and collect, because they won't be able to do any of this unless they open up in India. So even if the Home Office were to make a decision, it wouldn't go to the next level unless the VFS centers open up in India. I hope this helps, and I answer to the query you were looking out for. Can spouse visa work on, can a spouse work on a spouse visa? Yes, Ijaz, the spouse can work. I said that in one of my slides. I said that, you know, the spouse, once you've been granted a spouse visa, you can do a full-time jobs, you can do a part-time jobs, you can do freelance work, you can study, you can do all of it if you can manage all of it. So that answers your question. Yes, you can. Hi, Rishabh. Is it okay if the partner who is a British national is earning nearly £18,000 but in India and has a similar savings, but will have to quit the job if the plan to relocate? Also, can the savings be shown jointly, and how old should the fund be? So let me break your query into half to make sure I've answered it. So you're saying you have a British national who's earning £18,000, but currently in India and has a similar savings. I'm not quite very sure what you mean similar savings. Is that what you're saying, £18,000 as a savings? But will have to quit the job to plan to relocate. Then two things here is you can look into the consideration part, which I said. If you have lost your job or because of COVID-19 you were not able to continue, there's some concessions which has been put in place. The savings and the earnings, there's a formula up over there on how much should be the savings and what is the gap therefore, and what should therefore be the savings be. So you really need to put yourself under that math and get out what savings should be. To answer your question, also can the savings be shown in jointly? Yes, savings can be shown in applicant name or in sponsor name or jointly as well, as long as you hold this savings for past 6 months up over there and you have an access to it, then you can use that. I hope, Rishabh, you've received the response. I have got a lot of other questions as well. I don't know if Surbhi, are you around to see through the questions? What if the wife is holding a British passport and husband requires UK visas for just visiting UK and does not plan to settle? This is again very interesting aspect where you need to really be sure when you're doing an application under this category, because ideally it should be a spouse visa that you should be entering into. Answer you in short, there is nothing in immigration rule that debars you from making an application for visit visa to the UK. There's a lot of clients who have done that and have successfully got that. Manish, please could you have a question? Please could you give me a brief on adequate maintenance in relation if you're claiming housing welfare, how to locate? I think, Manish, there's a very specific and there's, again, I said, a lot of things written in the guidance notes. I would best advise is to book a consultation so that we can give you an insight into that there. I think with the paucity of time, we will not be able to take more questions. However, if you have to book an appointment for consultation, please feel free to get in touch with us, and our associates will do the needful. Surbhi would take a minute to you can also email us the questions and we can revert. Over to you, Surbhi. Hello?
Hello. Yes, hi. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Falguni. We have few testimonials to play right now, which I would like to share with all the participants. These are our happy clients.
was nice to work with, have a nice experience with Falguni. I really loved her. Very sweet girl. She's a very sweet girl. I think I should call you girl only because you must be much younger than me. And your colleagues are also very nice. I really enjoyed working with them. Very happy and nice people. Talk to the moment you go, you get a smile, and that is what you want. No grouchy face or something. Very nice people. Really, thank you so much for putting my daughter in the flight finally.
I promise you that one.
Which you promised me she'll send her. My daughter was really, bad, very upset, in very bad space. But finally, she got the answer, and there we go. Thanks to Falguni.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Pleasure working you, Warren.
Finally, actually, thank you. I lost hope. The waiting period was like a real long one. It was like prolonged for. But now finally I'm going. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Absolutely.
And I tend to do my extension, everything with you because I really trust you now.
Thank you so much.
My first application was bad and we had actually taken a professional help, but it didn't seem to help much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks from me and Pareen and my in-laws as well.
That's really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to SmartMove2UK for helping me be able to live with my wife. It's been a long journey. They've been helpful all the way through, and even the aftercare is amazing. We'll definitely be using them in the future when we need to extend her leave and eventually apply for leave to remain.
This is my husband Ashish Roy. Well, I really don't know how much I can say right now to capture the amount of gratitude I have towards SmartMove2UK. I cannot thank them enough for what they've done to me, for me and for my husband. I did come to them at a time when I was extremely vulnerable and at my depressed best. And the way we worked together over a period of 1 year, the way they handheld me in this entire process, did not leave my side, were always there at my beck and call, any time of the day, every day. I have nothing more to say beyond the fact that I owe you a lot. Thank you so much, Falguni, Prabha, Joyce, everyone involved in this entire process. And I'm sure this relationship is not going to end here. I have a whole lot to look forward in my life, and I will be needing them at every stage of my life. And therefore, once again, thank you so much. Love you all from the deepest part of my heart. Thank you so much.
All right, so those were our happy clients, and thank you everybody for joining us today. If you have any queries, please feel free to get in touch with us. We will definitely get in touch with you. Thank you so much. All of you stay safe and have a great evening ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.